welcome back to the Fallon Frequency Podcast, your space for that alignment and expansion and unstoppable energy. I am your host and mindset mentor, Fallon, and I am so excited to have you here today. Today, we're going to talk about the frequency of consistency and why you might not be taking off, to your next level just yet. I'm really going to uncover the deeper energetic and identity level reasons why consistency is key to your next level and why dropping it isn't just a break, it's a betrayal of the future you. So if you really want to stay in your power and embody that main character energy that you say you want, you need to understand consistency, not as a chore, but as a frequency. So this episode is for those of you who, find yourself really feeling stuck in cycles, wondering why the results you want aren't sticking, and really why success or that next level or that vision of yours you've been reaching for still kind of feels just out of reach. We're diving deep into something that will change how you're showing up for yourself. We hear it all the time. Consistency is key, but why? What makes it the gateway to the next level? Why does it matter so much? Why does falling off of your routine feel like such crap? Not just mentally, but energetically. And the truth really is, consistency isn't just about the discipline. It's about identity. It's about you declaring that you are the one in control now. It's about mastering the frequency of your future self and holding it. So let's go ahead and dive a bit deeper. So let's talk a little bit about the truth about consistency. Like I said, it isn't just about ticking boxes or doing something every day out of some obligation. That just sounds so boring to me. It's really, the most magnetic frequency you can tune into. Consistency is an energetic alignment in real time. It's you saying to the universe, I'm serious. I'm deciding that this is it. Every time you show up, especially when you don't feel like it, you're layering another brick in the foundation of your future self. It's like you're casting this vote for who you want to become. You're literally shifting the frequency that you're broadcasting. Consistency is the portal to the identity change. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. And that's why it matters. If you keep dipping in and out of your power, you're really teaching your nervous system that your next level isn't safe to hold. So you don't rise by doing something once. You rise by repeating the frequency until it becomes your default. Most people view consistency like a punishment. In reality, it's the portal to that next level, and it's the portal to quantum acceleration. So I want to give you an analogy. I want to bring it in, and I really want you to visualize this so it really sinks in. I'm going to talk a bit about airplanes. I learned this analogy actually at a business conference I went to years ago in Australia. And I really liked the way it kind of framed things up for me and thought I would share it with you today. I might botch the exact way they said it, but you'll get the gist of it. Okay, so if you think about an airplane, before the airplane itself can even think about lifting off the runway, it has to gain momentum. It's going to start at one point, it's going to start off slow, engines are going to rev up, it's going to build speed, it's going to cover ground, and it's going to push against resistance. Now, I want you to imagine yourself as that airplane. Okay, so for example, you begin doing the work, you're almost at that speed where you're just about to lift off the runway, okay? But what happens? Life happens. Something happens unexpectedly, and life throws something at you. So what happens? You lose motivation. You doubt yourself. That resistance kicks in, This is where self-doubt whispers pretty loudly. Old patterns are going to try to pull you back. So what do? You hit the brakes. You stop. You say something like, I'll try again next month. But what happens then is you have to actually go back to the start of the runway. You have to then rebuild that momentum all over again. You don't just pick up where you left off, People don't understand this. You have to go back to the start, to rebuild everything. This is not like a punishment. It's literally the physics of how things happen. The plane cannot take off from halfway down the runway unless it's moving fast enough. Okay, it has to go back, rebuild the speed, rebuild the distance, and then it can take off. And the real kind of kicker to go even deeper here is that planes, they use most of their fuel during the takeoff, not when you're up in the air cruising. So I want you to really, really think about that. The hardest part, the part where we need to stay consistent, isn't when you're already flying in the air. It's the moments that are building just before you lift off. That's when things feel the hardest. And that's where most people quit. But if you can stay in it, regardless of what, different hurdles and road stops come your way, if you can really push through that resistance and keep going, then you get to fly. Then the momentum will carry you. Then you're no longer pushing. You are gliding. You are flowing. You are in the air. And it takes so much less to stay there once you've taken off that runway than the whole buildup and the consistency of being on the runway in the first place. This is kind of where you're becoming that embodiment of the higher self, the airplane being in the air. So I want you to really think of this analogy next time you do want to take your foot off the gas. Next time you don't want to be consistent. You have to ask yourself, am I really willing to go all the way back to the beginning again? And a really great example of this, you would hear this all the time. You've got to get your reps in. Great one, fitness. You don't get strong from going to one gym session. You'll hear that in books. You'll hear that from so many other mentors. And it's so easy to visualize. It's a daily decision to show up, even when you don't see things happening for you in real time just yet. Okay. So now that we have this beautiful visualization, this epic airplane that we're kind of building that consistency, going off the runway, going into the air, I want to look at consistency and talk about it in a bit more energetic terms and kind of incorporate commitment, how consistency and commitment work together. Okay, like I said, consistency is an energetic rehearsal. So what do I mean by that? Every act you have, every behavior, every single habit is reinforcing your chosen identity. When you're dropping the game, when you're not being consistent with next level you're feeding your old identity. Your future self already exists. 100% she is in there. And consistency is how you're going to calibrate to her frequency until it locks in. So we have to be consistent with our actions and our vibration and our frequency until it becomes our new state of being. If you think of like an analogy here, if you think of your next level or that vision of yours or this next identity that you want to be, like a radio station. Okay, and the radio station's already broadcasting, but you keep changing the dial on the station. Like every few days, you keep trying to change it. And you're realizing you're never getting a really clear reception. You're never really tuning in perfectly to the radio station. You're hearing some static, kind of sounds a bit fuzzy. It just doesn't sound right. That's kind of how inconsistency is feeling. When you're locking it in though, when you're dialed in, you get crystal clear clarity, and that's when results and next level you start showing up. So if I'm talking about the energy of consistency, I can't, like I said, not talk about the energy of commitment. So I want to explain the energy of commitment in a really awesome analogy that I thought of with surfing. And for all my ocean lovers out there, clearly I'm thinking about surfing right now. I'm in the Pacific Northwest and the ocean's calling me. So stay with me here. Because when we are talking about consistency, that's really energy in motion. And this analogy with surfing is super easy and really perfect to kind of clarify things. So the thing about surfing is you don't catch the wave. You do not catch a wave unless you commit to it. You've got to paddle like you mean it. You've got to really own it before it's obviously yours. There's really no time for the maybe when we're paddling for a wave. It's really like that classic line of like, hey, no hesitation, no looking back. It's an all in or you're going under. So we're going to look at energy the same way. The universe itself isn't responding to your wish. It's not responding to this maybe energy. It's responding to your willingness to fully ride the wave, to fully commit. So if you're showing up half in, if you're still doubting yourself, if you're still waiting for proof before you even claim the vision, you're going to wipe out. You're going to nosedive. You're going to get a mouthful of salt water and wonder what the heck went wrong. But when you commit to the wave, when you plant that flag in the sand and you say like, this is mine, I'm in, I'm doing it, no plan B, that's when the universe is going to meet you. That's when things will begin to align. And that's when momentum lifts you. And everything will start to flow. It's, again, like that airplane taking off. So I want you to ask yourself right now, are you paddling like someone who knows that they're going to catch it? Or are you hesitating, kind of hoping that the wave will like slow down to meet you? Because I'm going to tell you right now, it won't. Life moves, energy moves, and it rewards the bold, okay? So the energy of consistency and the energy of commitment. Like I said, commitment is the decision. Consistency is the devotion to that decision. Commitment is when you say, hey, this is mine, my wave, my whatever. It's this internal vow. It's this declaration. It's the energetic contract that you're having with the universe. But the consistency is how you show the universe you mean it, okay? It's the daily demonstration of that commitment through your actions, through your energy, through your attitude, your presence. It's really proof that you're not just like flirting with your next level. You're not just like playing with this idea of next level you. You're actually like dating it with intention. Because, the truth is you can't be committed to the visions or to the goal or to your next identity without being consistent. It's like you say you're in, but if your energy ghosts the minute, some sort of resistance or challenge comes up, it's like, are you actually in? Are you really in? Or you were just in when it felt easy? Because this is not how this stuff works. Commitment is planting that seed, and consistency is watering it every freaking day. Even when you don't see the sprout yet, especially when you don't see the sprout yet. You don't dig it up because you're not seeing the fruit. You stay in trust and you stay in motion. So, energetically, consistency is really stabilizing your commitment. It's holding the frequency long enough for reality to catch up. It's what transforms intention into embodiment. And when that happens, I promise you, results shift, your confidence expands, and your identity upgrades. It's impossible for it not to. You become a match, a frequency, an energetic match for bigger, bolder, higher level outcomes because you're no longer waiting to be chosen by your next level. You are choosing it every freaking day by staying consistent, by staying in the right energy, by staying with the right habits. And that's the frequency of a leader. That is main character energy. That's 100% what main character energy is. And that's really how we stop playing small and start magnetizing our results. The energetic cost of inconsistency is so massive because it's fracturing your identity. Every single time you keep a promise to yourself, you're building trust, self-trust, okay? That trust turns into confidence, and that confidence becomes clarity. The clarity becomes embodiment. So this is your new identity being formed in real time. When you stop showing up, when you stop being consistent, that old version of you sneaks back in and it whispers, oh, you're still me. Oh, I knew you couldn't change. But here's what I want you to remember. Consistency is the evidence that your evolution is real. It's not about being perfect. It's not about, deciding. It is about deciding over and over and over again, this is who I am now. By staying in motion, you're keeping that promise to yourself. You're sending a signal to your nervous system, to your subconscious, and to the universe. You can't rewire your identity with one action. You become her through repetition, through consistency. Another really easy way to look at this, like if you're thinking of you're setting your GPS and your GPS is set on destination and your destination is dream life or next level you or that version 2.0, and you keep canceling the route midway through. If you keep canceling the route on your way to your destination, what happens? You never arrive. And that's what inconsistency is. You don't need a new destination every time something comes up. What you need to is to stop rerouting. So I want to talk and hone it in on being the main character. The only way to really hone in on this consistency and hone in on this commitment is to be the main character. Now, talking energetics here, you are, whether you've realized it or not, the main character of your own movie. That is your life, okay? You're not an extra. You're not the audience. You are the fucking star. The camera is on you. If you've never looked at your life that way, this is a really great time to start. So how would you lead, in your movie if you were showing up for it today? Would you be flaking on your goals? Would you pull the whole, I'll do it on Monday? Or would you negotiate with fear? Or would you show up? Would you show up like it's already done? Like the version of you who's becoming, who's already her? Like what kind of movie do you want to be watching? That's the energy of consistency, and that's the frequency of inevitability. So as you guys know, if you've been following me for a little bit here, you would know that my journey didn't start here. I went from the high-speed hustle of the super yacht industry to moving to Australia on faith alone. No plan, just kind of fucking went for it. And in my time in Australia, I became a therapist. I ran health retreats. I became a surf coach, and I supported some really, really deep healing. And what I noticed over and over and over again in every single industry, in every space, was this. Mindset was the thing that was running the show. You can change your habits, you can change your job, you can change your clothes, you can even fucking change your diet. But if you don't change your frequency, if you don't align your energy to your belief system, you will end up repeating the same patterns in a new place. So the past few years, I went all in. Obviously, mindset kind of became an obsession of mine. I fully committed to mastering this inner game that we all have, with personal development and universal laws and the energetics underneath everything. And now this is what I get to do. This is what I get to do. I get to mentor others through this super soul deep frequency first transformations, because at the end of the day, this is the work. It's not surface level, it's foundational, and it's embodied, and consistency is what anchors it in. So after that rant, I want to leave you with a bit more, a few little things just to really hone it in, is kind of just, like when you drop your consistency. Okay, think of it like this. You're dropping your energy. When you keep going, especially through the noise, you're literally telling the universe, I'm serious. You are making that commitment to yourself and to the universe that you're fucking all in. So you're not going to be stuck in version 1.0 you anymore. You become like you're ascending, 2.0, 3.0, whatever version of you want to be. So the next time you want to pause or you want to not be consistent, I want you to hear that voice. I want you to knock the voice down that says this doesn't matter. I want you to not listen to the one that's telling you that you're going to do it tomorrow or that you're not feeling aligned today. And I want you to really, really get honest with yourself. Am I like, fuck, where am I? What part on the runway am I? Am I about to take off? Do I keep pushing? Am I on that runway? Are my wheels lifting? Is this just a test? Like, is this resistance, of my momentum building? Because often it is, and this is like, kills me because people are like so close to their next level, but they give up and they're not consistent and then they drop the ball. So I really want to bring it home, okay? When you move anyways, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, when you keep showing up, even when it's messy, that's creator energy. That is mastering your frequency. And that's how flights happen. If consistency is your challenge or has been your challenge up until this podcast, if you're really ready to stop circling and going back and forth on this fucking runway and really take off, that is exactly what I do. That's what my mentorship is all about, and it's what I'm here for. Because this work, it's not just inspiring, it is powerful, it is magnetic, and it's life shifting. It honestly changed everything for me. And I'm sharing it because I feel like if we had all known this stuff earlier, if this was taught earlier, if I hadn't figured out on my own, we'd all be playing a much, much bigger game. So if this episode lit a fire inside you, awesome, great. That means it landed. That means you're ready. And I'm so fucking excited for you. And as always, an absolute pleasure having you here. It really means the world to me having you listeners, getting this message out there, sparking a little fire inside. If it resonated, please do take a second, rate it, subscribe it, share it. It gets it out there to more ears. Send it to someone who needs this energy. I love sharing my energy with others. And, jump into my DMs, tell me what landed. You can find me pretty much all the time on these days on Instagram at fallonmichaela.co. I always love to connect. If you'd like any clarity on anything, just jump in there. I don't bite. And as always, like I said, thank you again so much for tuning in, sharing your energy with me. And I will I'll see you on the next episode.